for our regular city commission meeting. Let's start with the roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen is absent. Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Clayton.
Present.
And Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Wonderful. We do have a quorum this afternoon. I want to welcome everybody here as well as watching on some form of social media. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation by Pastor Dakota Smith, Ottawa Bible Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good afternoon. Thanks for having me again. Just a brief verse to start today from Psalm 22. Many of you have heard it before. My God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus quoted this as he was on the cross. It could be understandable why Judas forsook him. It could be understandable why Peter forsook him. But Jesus is on the cross asking why his Father has now forsaken him. And the good news of the gospel is that God turned his face away from his Son so that he could turn his face toward us. What a kind and gracious gift that he would be able to give us his only Son. And so as a Christian, we stand on that. I thank you for allowing me to proclaim that to you today. If you as a leader have ever felt forsaken, perhaps forgotten, as a leader, if you've ever felt like you've gone through difficult things and maybe even asked God, where are you? You have a friend in Jesus who knows exactly what that feels like. And the good news is that he sees you nonetheless. So please allow me to pray for you today. Thanks for this moment. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for our leaders. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for this great country, the United States of America. Thank you that there are soldiers who have lost their lives on a battlefield. The seed of this nation was their own blood. And they spilled that blood so that we could have the freedom to, whether there's agreement or disagreement, to talk about things like religion. So that we could have the freedom to stand here and we could rule on matters in our own community and discuss what the people want. Thank you for our servant leaders for this community. Thank you that you have called them here. Thank you for the freedom that we possess. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for today, and we give you everything on the agenda. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Okay, we will go on. Are there any public comments tonight?
Unregistered.
None registered. Okay, we'll skip that one. As well as 7. Go on to consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the November 6th City Commission meeting, service line warranty notice, as well as the agenda approval. Have that disposed of.
So moved.
There's a second.
I will second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Aye.
Go on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 10.
Item A, resolution setting public hearing for Fairway Vista Reinvestment Housing Incentive District.
This resolution sets a public hearing to consider the RHID development plan and to consider the creation of the district for the Fairway Vista RHID. And we have Tyler here with us today. Welcome, Tyler.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. This item marks the second of 3 commission actions that are required to put the Fairway Vista RHID in place. And so before I go through the slide deck, I just want to emphasize that we're not committing to anything today. We're not making any final decisions today. This is just the second of the 3 steps. We will be back to you on December 18th with the final step, the approval, including the form of a development agreement between the city and the developer that spells out sort of how the incentive works here. Just as background, this is an RHID for 7 vacant lots on Diamond Head Road. There are 14 duplex units that are proposed to be built there. And I should note that a representative of the developer team, Bert Peterson, is here if you have any questions about the project itself. The project and the 7 lots will be developed as 14 townhome units, proposed as 3-bedroom, 2-bath units. And this particular subsection of rental homes falls within the housing needs identified in the 2023 residential demand analysis for Franklin County. You'll recall that last month we looked at findings necessary to create an RHID based on the need for housing units, quality housing, and incentives to provide those housing units in the community. Following the adoption of that resolution that you all provided, we forwarded those findings to the Secretary of Commerce. Secretary of Commerce replied and indicated their approval of moving forward with creating the district, essentially agreeing with the findings that you all made. And so now we're here to consider this resolution setting the December 18th public hearing. The resolution, in addition to setting the public hearing, outlines the boundary of what lots are included in the RHID district, and it also references a development plan. That plan will be approved formally on December 18th, but it contains the details of the property that's in the district, the proposed units that will be constructed, and it also notes one item to keep in mind here is normally when you have a tax increment finance project, an RHID project, normally that tax increment is used to pay for infrastructure. In this case, the infrastructure is really all there, and so the increment in this project will be used to pay a portion of the developer's vertical costs of constructing the unit. This is a little bit more detail on that. One item to note is part of the development plan includes a feasibility study looking at the projections of what the tax increment will be. We have a verbal agreement with the developer to provide 10 full years of property tax reimbursement or reimbursement up to the amount of $425,000. So that's spelled out in the feasibility study, which is the last part of the development plan. That really covers sort of the financial considerations, legal considerations. Our firm prepared the resolution. It's been reviewed by your city attorney. And with that, staff and we as your bond counsel recommend approval of the resolution.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Tyler?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve item 10A on the agenda.
I'll second.
there's a second. Any other discussion on this? I will note that this covers, I believe, all the lots that are available out there. Maybe one left to be developed. I'm not sure.
I think that's right. I think there's an 8th one out there that wasn't part of this. It's under separate ownership. So that's
gonna
right.
Someday we'll get that one filled. That's great. But
Yeah.
anyway, we appreciate your investment in our community. So let's go ahead and have a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote? Mayor Pro Tem Allen is absent. Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Mr. Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes too. That motion carries. We're glad to see this. Thank you very much for both your effort. Very good.
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Tyler, can we change our mind in case we don't see anything else?
That's right. That's
We don't
right.
lie
You take
too
that.
late.
You rescind that motion. Yeah.
Yeah, I like these. Nice addition to our committee. We certainly need these. So very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you all.
Thank you. Let's see. We'll move on to where are we at here? Item 11 with the interview with the City Accessibility Advisory Board. Kelsey Costco's here. Kelsey, come on up to the microphone. Good evening.
Thank
How
you
are
for having
tonight?
me. Yeah.
We just have a couple questions here we're going to ask you, and nothing hard about this. Just ask me questions about yourself. So
All
it should be
right.
real simple.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have you on here and put you on this. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but hopefully you feel comfortable in answering some questions. And let me just start off with the first one here. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve on this particular board.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Kelsey Costco. I've lived in Ottawa my whole life. Through that, I've found different ways to serve in the community, and I found a passion for helping people, whether that's through volunteering or serving my time, whatever I can do to maybe contribute. When it comes to the accessibility board, this past year I've started taking care of my grandmother full time. I'm her caregiver, and I've realized there is a whole different perspective when it comes to accessibility where, wow, that curb might just be like a huge triumph for their day. That could put them in pain if they had to step up on that or that kind of thing. So just little day to day, I feel like I've seen a different perspective recently on how maybe some of these people might not have representation, or they might not be able to go out and be a voice or be able to discuss their needs. And so if I was able to kind of just be a part of that and help out in some way. And then I also was a field supervisor and a hospice coordinator with Phoenix Home Care and Hospice. So I've seen some different angles to the accessibility and needs that people need day to day. And on top of that, like I said, I'm a real estate professional, so we have to stay up to date on all the ADA training, fair housing, that kind of thing. So constantly getting more education on that and staying up to date. And the more I learn, I feel like I'm seeing more of a need. Yeah.
Very good. Good answer. Commissioner Crowley.
Kelsey, how are you?
Good.
Good. What changes or improvements would you recommend the city regarding accessibility?
I think there's a lot of opportunity where you could look at sidewalks, and you could look at maybe it's not a curb, it's a ramp or railings or that kind of situation. I think every little area in town has their own unique perspective, so it would depend on where you're looking at or what the situation is. But I always think having multiple opinions is the best way to figure something out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Commissioner Clayton.
Thanks for mentioning that. I as well, I think curbs and sidewalks are a huge improvement that we can make. What role do you see the Accessibility Advisory Board kind of serving for the City of Ottawa as a government entity and also the citizens?
Yeah, I think, again, I kind of looked at who was on the board, and I think all of them have great opinions and great backgrounds when it comes to, hey, we might see a change that needs to be made. And again, I just think it's good to have a voice and good to be involved. So I do think it's a necessary board.
And Commissioner Kaler, do you have any questions?
I don't today, but thank you, Kelsey, for applying. It takes every single citizen to get involved to make our community amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well said. Well, I see you do have a personal experience with your younger brother, you mentioned, and I think, wow, what a ability to have personal situation where you've dealt with this on a daily basis, and to have that on there. And I know our current board is a bunch of all-stars, and I certainly look at you that same way. So God bless you for applying for this. We'll talk about this at the end of the meeting, make a vote. We'll make something happen here for you.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
And thank you for applying, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
While we still have you, Kelsey, I guess, at this lectern, we're open to opposing voices. That's the tenet of democracy. I would say you've been very openly critical of the City of Ottawa and the folks on this bench. And I just would kind of like to almost address that before we take the opportunity to put you in a position to kind of help us with accessibility.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say critical. I think there's different perspectives when it comes to voicing opinions. I think I've had some unique experiences where maybe I see things differently, but I don't know that there's necessarily any criticism in that. I think it's just with my role in the community, I do get a lot of feedback, and I get to talk to the community every day, and I hear their concerns. And so I think it comes to a point where I'm not just speaking from my own experience, I'm also hearing feedback from what other people have maybe wanted or they see a need. So I don't feel that in any way I'm against anything. I just think there should be more conversation and more education to the public than letting them know they can get involved, they have a voice, and they can use it.
I certainly agree. I think there is room for improvement always, and obviously a civil discourse. I would say I have some screenshots of some messages that you said saying that we are self-serving and need a complete overturn. So to me, that seems very poignant towards this board.
Right, and my comments were regarding something else, and I don't think that that's what I came here to discuss today, and that doesn't have to do with the position I'm going for. So if we'd like to discuss that at a different time, I'd be happy to, but I do think there are a lot of other layers to that, and
Yeah, I just say this will be a representative of the City of Ottawa.
Right,
serving this
absolutely.
board, so I would say that it does apply.
Okay.
with how you view the city as a whole, also its departments.
And I don't know
its
that
commissions.
it wasn't necessarily towards the city as a whole. I think there are certain members throughout time, not you guys specifically, but I do think there have been things in the past that have been improved and are continue to being improved. I see all the new employment with the city over the past couple of years has been amazing. I see great overturn with that. Just getting new people and new opinions and more education in.
I agree, and I think you have a great history kind of with the skill set and would be great for the position. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kelsey. Okay, let's move on to item B, which is be the resolution to approve the Kansas Department of Transportation urban area boundary, which describes the area around and including Ottawa as urban and affects urban planning, infrastructure, and transportation projects. And we have Director Neese here.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. What we have before us is in response to KDOT. And with the decennial census, this comes up really on a 10-year basis. It's we consider it administrative in nature, and I failed to include the map in the PowerPoint, unfortunately, but you do have it in your packet. Staff, working together with city engineer, DJ, and Public Works, looked at this and said, is this something that we want to, first of all, does it match sort of reality? Yes, it does match reality. Do we want to ask KDOT to think about it a little bit differently because of desires that we might have for development or growth or something, and determine that from our perspective that adopting this would not hinder any future growth, and so it doesn't make sense to have a hypothetical conversation with KDOT. And the other thing that I don't believe I put in the agenda, but they are in the correct order, and so if the commission would say we would prefer to consider the urban area boundary, but we're ready to go on the functional classification system, I'd ask that you delay both of them actually, because KDOT asks that you do them in this order. No financial considerations has been reviewed by the city attorney, and so the recommended motion or action would be to approve the resolution, or of course to move it to a future agenda.
This was prompted from KDOT, right? They
Correct. Yes, they reached out to us.
And so do you know other cities that they're approaching on this? Is this something, I mean, we've been here for a long, long time, and this is the first they've brought this to our attention. Is it because of any particular reason, the K68 study they did recently put this on? Or
I don't, my understanding is that they are doing this across the state to every community, every county, but I could be incorrect.
Mr. Mayor, this is something that occurs occasionally, periodically from time to time following censuses or the census revision period. So it happens at a minimum every 10 years and often every 3 to 5.
Okay. All right. Any more questions anybody have? I just wonder, since this is the first we've seen it for this particular meeting, we might want to push it off into our next meeting, which will be on the 20th. If people in our community respond, or if the rest of the commissioners are interested in proceeding today, listen to that appeal.
One question. Director Neese, on the map, I know you don't have it on the PowerPoint. I don't know if it's in front of you.
It is, yes.
Do you know why off of Eisenhower Road, there's a chunk that is within the city limits that's not kind of in the boundary? Down kind of right near I-35.
Mm-hmm, I see that. I don't know.
Okay.
We discussed both of these maps with the city engineer. Said, does it make sense to ask the question of KDOT, and there's no penalty to us in in the city engineer's opinion. There's no penalty to us in adopting it. It does not prevent us from developing something either that parcel or something that was further out. There's no penalty.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Point. I didn't notice. Any other questions anybody have? What's the wishes of the commission?
I would be okay with putting, please, Sarah, go ahead.
Sarah, did you have a comment?
No, none at this time. Sorry.
I'd be okay with moving 11B and C onto the 20th agenda.
I would agree.
All right. I think we have consensus there to move it to the next meeting, so we'll just do that and then we'll bring it up.
May I ask, is there particular information that you'd like in advance or in preparation?
I just think more time to review.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Neese. Move on to item D. We've got a backwash motor and pump replacement. This request is to approve funding for replacing the backwash motor and pump essential for maintaining efficient water treatment operations and ensuring reliable service to the community. Director Stephen?
Good afternoon, Mayor,
Here it
Commissioners.
is. Almost didn't recognize you. Look at this.
That is the theme of the day.
That is,
You have a birthday one week, and the next week people don't recognize you.
Totally
But
different guy.
I'm telling you what.
Like someone on the cover of GQ magazine. Okay, great.
So I'm here today to request authorization to move forward with the purchase of a new backwash and pump and motor assembly at the water treatment facility. On Friday of Labor Day weekend, Friday afternoon, our backwash pump seized up that we currently have and only have one of. It is original to the plant. These are very expensive to just have on the shelf. We did not have a backup pump. Our water treatment plant superintendent, Mark Higgs, called some of his resources in. Douglas Pump came down, removed the pump, inspected it, stayed till 1 a.m. that morning, took it back up to their shop, mind you, Labor Day weekend, got it back to us Sunday, installed it, and started working properly again. What they did find in that inspection process was that the impeller was worn and the volute was worn out some on it. So this pump does not run every single day. When it does run, it runs approximately 7 minutes at a time. This pump has over 800 hours. So you know how many times that pump has started and stopped multiple times, and there's no soft start mechanism on it. So what I'm recommending for us to do is to purchase a new backwash pump from Let's Van Kirk and a 100 horsepower motor from Independent Electric. Total price of this purchase would be $126,051.69 without freight included in that. The total repair from the emergency repair done on Labor Day weekend was just over $5,000. That will continue to go up the more damage that is done. They band-aided it. We've got it back in service now. We have not had any further issues. Knock on wood, please. But it's at the end of life, and we need to get the ball rolling. The one critical piece to this is not in the 2025 budget that was just approved. Unfortunately, we have no way of having a crystal ball to look into the future and say, hey, that backwash pump needs replaced. If we did, it would have been replaced this year. The pump itself is $101,664 with a 24-week lead time. So that 24-week lead time is the reason I'm before you today. To get the ball rolling today means that it'll be March before we ever see the pump. The motor, it's a little bit easier. It's a 10-week lead time. Financial impact. We have an undesignated stability outlay that has $150,000 in it right now that will cover the cost of this. But we do have a capital improvement project that we have planned for 2025 that we will be looking at very closely of delaying that to see where revenues are towards the middle of the year, because we don't want to put the water fund in a more dire strait. So legal review, there are no contracts with this. Recommended action today is to authorize us to proceed with the purchase or continue discussion and deliberation for an upcoming meeting. I'll stand for questions.
Is there any use in getting a bid on this? Are there other companies besides Independent Electric that make these, or is this it pretty much in the marketplace?
Our superintendent reached out to multiple companies. Independent Electric is almost like a lead person. They'll reach out. We got quotes on motors from GE, US Motors, and there was another one too. Oh, Fairbanks or DXP chose not to bid on it. Same way with the pump. We've got one source. We reach out to it. All bids came back. And the nice thing about it is that the new high service pumps that we are going to be installing here next year are also flow serves. So we're working with one company on the pump side of it. Motor side of it, readily available.
Suddenly I don't feel so bad spending $250 on my sump pump at home, so at least for the benefit of that. Any other discussion on this? Anybody have?
Director Sneathen, can you tell me, and I guess anybody else listening, what would happen if we didn't have a working backwash motor and pump?
That's a very good question, Commissioner. What will happen is if that backwash pump goes down for more than 10 days, so there's a 10-day time frame here, we would not be able to sufficiently backwash our filters, which in turn would eventually get us out of compliance with regulatory agencies, could deem the water unsafe for the community, and quite honestly would impair our total process to where we would not be able to produce water.
So do we have a contingency plan if this pump does go bad in the next, the motor goes bad in the next 6 months?
We have reached out to our consulting agent, PEC, and there is a very slim chance that we can use our current high service pumps that pump out to the system to redirect them to backwash a filter in an emergency situation. We take very good chance of some failure within our system because of that.
And then I'm assuming the old motor that they pull, will you just put that on the shelf for a contingency plan maybe down the road, or?
Yes, sir. And we do plan on sending in the current pump itself, getting everything reworked. It's that 10-day time frame that gets us.
Yeah.
Because they can't do that type of work in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I
so
was just
we'll be
looking
able
at
to
the
send it
future
off.
Backup plan, for
Yep.
whoever it may be down the road.
It will be sitting down there waiting to where it would be a one-day change out versus pressing our fingers for 10.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Along with this, with it being a critical single point of failure, is there any thought kind of longer term of potentially keeping this pump in service, adding the new pump? Is there a way to almost supplement this so it wouldn't be that single point of failure potentially?
Well, once we get the new one in place and we have that second one per se on the shelf, that would be our backup. Okay. Yes. We currently don't have a way to install another one right next to it, and to get it to run, the building just isn't set up for that.
Thank you. You mentioned 800 hours on this. How many years ago was this one installed? Do you recall, or do you know?
It's original, 1980.
1980?
Yep.
Okay. Last a long time. So,
yep.
Well, you can never anticipate something like this to put in the budget, can you? So I blame you for that. So any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I make the motion we approve item 11D on our agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Kaler will second.
Okay. All okay. Let's have discussion on this. So let's take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote? Mayor Pro Tem Allen is absent. Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes too. That motion carries. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and good job. Now we're going to move on to the utility payment kiosk update. Update on the utility payment kiosk, and this will be from Finance Director McCurdy,
Assistant Director.
Assistant.
Just a small correction.
Assistant. Melly, I didn't mean to think. Okay. A little nervous there for you, huh? Okay. I'm dyslexic.
I just like to clear that air real fast.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm here today to give you some information regarding the kiosk history, utilization, and then open the floor for discussion of replacement or removing of the current unit. So just a little background. The current unit was put in place in June of 2016. It was first brought before the commission in 2014 by city staff that participated in the city's own leadership academy. The overall cost for the kiosk unit when purchased back then was $48,313. It accepted cash, credit cards, and checks from customers during most of its life. We'll discuss how some of those functions paled out at the end there. The benefits of the kiosk to the public was real-time posting of their payments to their account so they could see the payment immediately reflected on there, 24 access for cash payments, and reduction in wait times at the utility window itself for all other customers. Just some analysis here for you. It was functional, like I said, from June 2016 till June 2024. There was a total of 14,288 payments processed for a total amount of $2,388,635.37. I made a couple little graphs here, and so I wanted to talk through them. I've got a transaction by year, by payment type on the left there. And so I did that so that you can kind of see a breakdown of the payment types. And so I also did some math, and about 25% of all payments that went through the kiosk in its lifetime were in cash, 6% were check, and 69% being credit cards. You will see in 2022 that the check processing feature dropped off, and that's because it broke. So that was no longer an option. Also, in the end of 2022, most of 23 and all of 24, there was no way for you to get change back. So when you paid cash, the full amount was applied to the account. And so I just wanted to emphasize the drop-off was not just customer drop-off, but functionality drop-off. So I just wanted to be clear with that. And then same kind of, you see that reflection there on the right with the transaction by year by dollar. I did do math amount of breakdown of average dollars transactions, like per month, per year, and number of transactions. So there was about 133 transactions per month in the kiosk through its whole lifetime. So just additional information about the kiosk, why it was a preferred payment. People who like to pay cash liked the kiosk because if they work during the hours that were open, they can't come in and pay cash. And so some people just prefer to pay their bills with cash. And so having that there at 2 a.m. when they got off work, that they could just swing in and put $50 in if that's what they had was convenient. They could also make payments with their card or check if they work during our operational hours and can't come to the window. Also, some people just really don't want to come in and see us at the window. We don't take that personal, though. Some challenges with the current model, like I mentioned before, inability to give change back to customers when cash payments were made. You'll see there's an awning over it, but that's not actually what they preferred for weather protection. That was what we could do based off of the fact that beneath the ground there, this parking lot, there was so much cement they couldn't actually put safe footings in for the kind of coverage you really should have had for that unit. And so due to that insufficient weather protection, anytime it rained, the kiosk went down until it could be manually rebooted by our IT staff. Which brings me to the last point about the challenges. Over the last few years, I got to know the IT staff very well because I constantly was telling them there were issues with the kiosk. And so I would be remiss to not admit that they spent a significant amount of time in the last few years keeping that thing alive and functional. So kudos to them. Thank you for helping me, IT staff. Financial considerations with the kiosk. I did gather some estimates. I asked 3 companies. One did not respond to me, but the current provider did give us a replacement cost for a similar outdoor unit. So these are both outdoor units. They do have indoor units. So if you, in your discussion, want to talk about change of location for the unit, there are different costs for that. So I would have to come back with that for you. But I just want to clarify the replacement costs are for outdoor units. And then I got one from Howard, who does units as well. And then the current provider did give us a quote for upgrading just the inside equipment for our current model. So that would just be replacing the computer that's in there and the credit card reader. I didn't ask about change back or the check, but that would just make the unit that's currently non-functional functional again. And then annual expenses with the current model are about $7,100 plus a monthly credit card processing gateway that starts at about $75 and then goes up with each transaction. And with that, I will open the floor.
So the usage has diminished considerably over the years. Is it because of some of these things you mentioned, as far as the issues we're having with it? If it's broken down, people don't use it then, or what?
There was a lot of frustration with it being rather slow the last few years, and then it being down constantly for weather. Or there was a period of time where the credit card reader didn't work for a few months and we had to get a replacement brought in. So I really did want to highlight that there was some functionality issues in 22 and 23. I mean, I will say in the memo, I was very clear about what percentage of all. I looked at just 2023 because I had a full year, calendar year of data when I was doing the poll of data, and only 1.2% of transactions from 23 happened through the kiosk. Now, the year before, it was 1.9. So in the overall grand scheme of payment processing amount of transactions, the kiosk makes up a very small portion. But for the very small portion of people who use it, who were using it, I mean, every day I hear someone ask when it's going to be back up. And so that's part of the conversation of replace or remove, because right now that's
what I'm having a hard time figuring out, how much we're going to spend for 1.2% of our customer base. That's an awful expensive process. We still have the metal box out there too to use, right? The metal.
Yes, the drop box outside is still there, and there's one inside here as well.
Okay, and it's still being used, I assume. Maybe
Yes.
I don't know what percent.
Only checks goes through there. I did do the percentage, so roughly 30% of our transactions of 23 were checks, but those also include checks that come through the mail.
Inside. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And on cash, you said the kiosk before couldn't give change, right?
No, but people would just be like,
Pay
I got
over.
$100, I'm putting $100 on there, I get a credit towards my next bill if it was over that.
That's what I was wondering about. Okay. All right.
So Rebecca, if a person, because I mean, I was there, and I think that Commissioner Skidmore was there too when we brought this kiosk in. And things have changed quite a bit. Can an individual go online and pay? Can they sit on their couch and pay?
100%.
So that's changed. Exactly. Okay.
And about 48% of payments are made with credit cards online in 23.
And that costs us what? The credit card, I mean, we're still absorbing the credit card processing fee?
Yes, we do not charge that. So we are charged a per transaction fee through our website of, actually it's $1.25 per transaction, whether it is accepted or declined. And then also just the regular credit card processing fee on top of that.
And Rebecca, in this, go ahead, Sarah.
I do wonder if it's just real. I mean, if it's served its time. So, I mean, that's just something I'm going to lay there. Has that kiosk served its time? If it's serving less than 2% of our payments, has it served its time?
I don't disagree that machine itself hasn't served its time. I just don't know if the kiosk itself has served its time. I know of many individuals that don't have checking accounts that can only pay in cash, and certainly will work after hours, of city hall hours, that won't be able to make those payments. So I worry about how those individuals that make their payments, and that might be the only 2% that's making the payment, but would that escalate non-payments, shutoffs, which would only burden them more by not making that payment in time, and it's shut off, and then it adds additional cost to them. So I worry about those individuals, and like I said, it may be the minority, but it's still, something to think about.
Well, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Commissioner. I wonder if, understanding that there's complexities on, with weather and things like that, maybe we need to look at a different, maybe it needs to be up against the building. Maybe it needs to be somewhere where we can better weatherproof it. I don't honestly think that we thought about that when we decided to put the kiosk there. I knew we were thinking for drive-through purposes. That was great, but I'm just looking at different options.
I agree. I think looking at different options, because I think it is something that while we said mathematically it only serves a small percentage of folks, it still serves those people. And I would think cash payments and stuff being applied almost instantaneously to your account could prevent people from shut off, could prevent how many other things that people are able to do. On that $7,100 annually, is that kind of software costs and licensing from like the processors and companies who kind of do that?
Yeah, so there's a $80 a month like gateway fee through AdComp, which is the provider of the kiosk, and then there's an annual subscription for the software for the kiosk unit itself, and so that's what those two are together.
Do we know, how did people deal with this before we had the kiosk? 2016, but prior to that, how did people who work odd hours and get in and make their payment? Do we even know? Before your time.
It was before my time. I was in college in 2016. I don't know. They made it work, and we've been making it work since June. I will say I didn't do the math to see if there were individuals that I could track that frequently used cash to see if it had increased shutoffs or not. I will say I know that I neglected to tell the power plant, and so often in after hour connects, they would tell people, "Oh, you can use the kiosk." Well, that was a lie that I forgot to tell them, not that it was dysfunctional for a little bit, but we've corrected that. So that was a benefit to you, that if you got home and you realized, oh, they were serious, today was the day, you could come down and you could make a payment and then they'd get you reconnected.
Do you know, is it kind of thought that part of the lifespan issue with this was moisture getting in? Or is it more just kind of something that we do this, we would need to almost plan every 5-6 years, because we know there's planned obsolescence in computing,
I think it was probably a combination. I would say that the improper weatherization did not help it. But I'm also not a kiosk expert.
Do we have an idea of what it would take to get essentially that quote unquote weatherproof or closer?
So I would say I'm not an engineer, but I think we would need to move it to a different location, because we can't put the structural footings in there. Or look at putting it inside or along the side of a building with proper rain coverage.
And so maybe answer that, I was thinking of something else, but have we seen a decline in payments being made while it's been down since June, or as utility bills?
I did not do that math of total. They just have paid other ways.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, hearing the book drop just go off a second ago, is there a possibility that we could get, a non-drive-through option that they could walk up just like they do the book drop, where it's actually installed in the building, but the access is exterior? Is there something like that we can check into?
Yes, there are lots of different kiosk models, and I should have probably put some pictures in. I was going to put a picture of the kiosk in, but when I went outside that day, it just looked really sad, and I didn't want to put it in there, if I'm going to be honest. The out of order sign is
with the sale.
Well, I didn't want to create a bias. I came with data.
Sure, there you go.
Hey,
so you could have your discussion.
I'm sad looking at these numbers, what it's going to cost. Look at me.
I would certainly be interested in seeing if they offered an option like that could be mounted internally in the building, but if we had to do some sort of adaptation to the window itself or whatever in order to make that accessible from the outside.
And both companies said they come to your site and they do an audit of the area you're considering to make sure that it's a good fit. And so I think that would be a key part of if you decided to do a replacement or a different type of unit, that we would do a whole process and get an expert here to tell us the best choice.
Okay, well, any other questions, or what's the will of the commission on this issue?
On the providers, with AdComp versus Howard, we feel comfortable with AdComp as, kind of what have we got the past few years from them? Has it been good, favorable in terms of a vendor as we're looking at this?
I think if you asked IT, who did a lot of the customer service ticket putting in, they might give you mixed reviews on how helpful it was. I mean, our unit was aged. They're not here local. They would help you reboot it and problem solve. But as far as fixing the functionality of it, there wasn't a lot. They weren't overly over the top helpful. I would really love to do a whole look. I was really hoping the third company, I saw them at a vendor fair when I went to a national conference a few years ago, and I used one of their units right there. It was an indoor one. It was very easy to use. I really liked it. So I was hoping they would respond to my multiple emails. They did not. But I think looking at the options and really doing some homework ourselves on what we really want from the machine. Also, we did put this in the replacement that we requested during budget of 25 in the 25 budget. So we have some funds allocated if you really want to do the homework and think about it. It's not a super time sensitive issue. I would maybe ask if you have direction on if we should maybe disassemble the unit in the parking lot though currently.
I mean, it's not working, is it?
No.
Okay.
But one of the options is,
people.
But one of the options on your side was to rehab that unit.
That's true.
You're
Correct?
the IT guy. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that?
And is there any way, Rebecca, that you could reach out? I know that, everybody builds networks. Is there any way that you could reach out to other individuals in finance departments for other cities and see what are they using? It would be nice to hear if somebody's had a really, rotten experience here, a really amazing experience with this company. It would be nice to hear from those. And sometimes that's as easy as just throwing out an email, just saying like, how's your kiosk working and who'd you get it from and has it been a good experience or not?
Yeah, I'm on some listservs. I'm more than happy to make that request out.
Well, and along that line, as Director Sneeden brought up to me, what about reaching out to like the Price Chopper to see if they'll accept payments for us too? Is that an
I
option?
have
Because
not
I know other
considered
communities have.
that. Logistically, I have not considered that.
Yeah, once again, I don't know how that goes down, but I mean, I know other communities do that, so I don't know if that's something we could look into.
I know that there was someone somewhere mentioned putting a kiosk like inside of Walmart or Price Chopper, and I just only have safety concerns of the staff person who would have to go there and empty it and have the responsibility of carrying the money out of another business.
Sure.
So
Understand that.
Do we have anybody making cash payments in our current metal box out there?
we prefer they do not do that.
Right. I know
It
they can't
still
make change,
does
but we can get
happen.
credit to their next bill. But I'm thinking even then they can go to Price Chopper, Walmart, and buy a money order and put it in there too. So our post office has certain hours, I realize, but they can, I don't know what the hours are at the service desk at Walmart or Price Chopper, but I just feel like if people want to pay their bills and they did before, there's got to be, they can figure it out. They're smart. They can get the bill to us somehow. And we're only dealing with, between 1% and 2% of the people here. It seems like the rest of the people are having to pay to accommodate these people the 1.2%. It just doesn't seem fair to me on that. But I would, in hearing someone having trouble with the library box out here, just as we're doing our meeting, I'm thinking maybe that would be an idea to see what one would cost. When you say indoor kiosk, it would be one walk up from the outside.
There's ones that could go in the wall, but then there's also ones that are like literally inside of a building.
But they can
That are
come to
just
the window and pay,
freestanding.
couldn't they, if they do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm thinking more so after hours. If they could still access it from outside, then, but it's mounted internally at any time of the day, night or whatever, they could still make that payment. And back to Commissioner Kaler's comments, I don't know if I'd be, excited about trying to, revamp the one that's out there. I mean, you're more of an IT guy than I am, but I do know that water and that stuff doesn't mix. And I mean, you'd start with a shell, quite honestly, if you wanted to or had to. So
Yeah, and do you know, and obviously Paul and Matt would be the people for this, you know, do they have an option of essentially software where we would provide our own computer that they would service, we put on a rotation where we're putting, you know, a few grand into a computer every few years instead of and if you have a preference, obviously.
I'll let Paul talk about technology.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yeah, when we initially got the kiosk, there was a hardware component that they covered, and you know, we've had it long enough where that is all elapsed now, and so we're having to pay to replace the hardware anytime something goes wrong. You know, we're just paying for software support. I would hesitate to provide our own hardware just because of the compatibility and the support level. You know, I'm sure they have strict standards on what they want to put in, and we've run around with them a few times on getting the replacement stuff. So it's a good idea, but I don't think that would work in this situation.
In your perfect scenario, would you continue interacting with them as a support vendor?
You know, I would really evaluate all the options, you know,
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
Thank you.
And do we have anybody mail their checks in or mail a money order in if they buy one and somewhere?
What is
during
what is a check, Mayor
keep talking
Skidmore?
about it.
What's a check?
That is a check.
Or Venmo or PayPack or
We
whatever?
currently do not take Venmo or Cash App at the window.
okay.
Yes, we still get lots of checks in the mail.
Okay, because there's a way that you can send in a money order from the post office or somewhere mailing one in too. So I just think there's so many options here for people they can use to pay. We're spending an awful lot of money for such a small percent. And I don't mean to disparage the people there, that 1.2%, but there are ways that we accommodate, we adapt to make payments.
Is that 1.2% of the people, or is that 2% of the monetary value?
It's
Transactions.
it's the number of transactions. So it's not the monetary value, and I wouldn't say it's the people because it's 133 transactions. And these are mostly residential
day?
accounts. No,
Oh,
per month. That's the
133, okay,
average.
so
And those are mostly residential accounts. So when you think out of our whole utility accounts, we've got like 6,600-ish accounts, give or take, in there. So that includes businesses accounts. And lots of businesses have more than one account versus most people have one house account.
So we're talking roughly 32 transactions a year.
No, that was 133 transactions was the per month. The per year transactions.
Well, no.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's the 2%.
Mm-hmm.
My math, sorry, I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be way off. But yeah. So you're 1,600 transactions a year,
Mm-hmm.
32 transactions, roughly, at 2%.
That was the number of transactions in the kiosk, the 133.
Yeah,
was
that's
just
what I'm
the
getting at.
kiosk.
The 2% is the
Oh.
number of transactions in the kiosk, so roughly 32 transactions. Mark?
No, I was just giving you kiosk transaction numbers.
Okay,
There's 65,000 transactions in 2023.
okay.
Very good.
Okay.
I might also, just if you don't mind, I believe that Commissioner Kaler mentioned that, you know, a large portion of those payments that are made with credit card. You can use credit card online, you can use credit card in person, and you can use credit card at the kiosk. All of them cost the city a fee and an amount. So we do have other ways for you to pay by credit card or any type of card. So really the convenience factor of the kiosk was for cash payment and after-hour check payments. You can also drop your check payments in the drop box, which already exists outside of the building anyway. So in my mind, we're narrowing this down to cash paying customers. And if we need to come up with a way for that to happen, it may not be just the kiosk and it may not cost. We need to do maybe a little more searching as to what other cities are doing for those cash paying customers. And one other small comment was, if you have a collection point off of your city premises, remember that the security of transporting that cash or those types of payments, because there are limited checks maybe coming through that box. Most cities use a secure service and hire a service to transport payments from outside kiosk or cash drop boxes or any type of drop box that aren't located at their facility or at their home office. So you would need to consider that as well, that we either then would need to add the cost of a security service for transport of those dollars, or we'd be sending an employee to go pick up cash and transport for us. And so we need to consider those safety aspects as well.
Yeah.
So sorry to dwell on this because I'm trying to put a number on it because I don't want 1.2% to sound like it's an insignificant number. So you're talking 1.2% of 65,000 transactions?
Yeah, so
Okay,
771 transactions in 2023.
Okay, 800 transactions.
And in your table where it says cash check, those are obviously broke out. Those are in-house, inside. At
The check, yes.
Yeah.
They would either
at the
be
window or Dropbox.
Or mail, yes.
And I do think you look and there's almost 2.388 million over 8 years. And I think the math's about 2%. That 48K was about 2% of what money has come through it. So it definitely is getting some use. And so I would be on that page of not abandoning it completely. Potentially looking at other vendors, other options, something in the building that would be easier to manage, and at some level potentially safer than walking to the parking lot with, you know, potentially a few $1,000s, whatever may be paid in cash. Would be kind of my recommendation.
You've heard mine. I'd like to see if we could get one that, mounts inside the building but can be accessible from the outside.
You've heard me, I'd just put a grenade in it. Start over. I think what the whole thing is this diminished numbers. These people have adapted somehow to make their payments and almost be cheaper. Well, I don't want to get into that, but you're right about the security issue with regard to off-site, and I bet banking, that's very expensive. You don't want to deal with that, I agree. And so I think there's something to that. And I know at banks of ATMs, I remember our ATM, it was on the wall, even that had weather issues. The problem with ATMs at banks is we have competition. We have to do that. We don't have any competition. They have to pay their bill somehow here. And I think that's where I'm thinking that they'll find a way. But I'm willing to look at other options if we commissioners want to do that, to see about an in-wall facility of some kind and see what that looks like. Commissioner Kaler, do you have any more comments?
No, I would like to see I'd like to see a kiosk that's, for security reasons, put inside City Hall and then available to individuals through the outside. I mean, we have a ton of space at the entrance of City Hall. I think we could utilize it better.
Okay.
Okay, I have my
revisit
marching orders, so thank you.
And I'll price the price of a grenade while we're at it. So, okay.
I think that's more than that.
Yeah, maybe try it more. Next item would be F. We have the transition plan update and communication plan to the members. Director Landis will provide an update to the Great Life Ottawa Golf Course transition plan and outline a communication strategy to keep members informed and engaged. Director Landis.
All right, thank you. We have entered the point in our transition process where we have been getting questions, both from the public and from just staff, and we really wanted to get the information out so that we could answer a few of those questions up front, offer a few other options for them to request the same information from us if they didn't have access to someone to ask those questions. I know even you as commissioners have gotten specific questions coming to you, and I appreciate those being passed along so that we can contact those people directly. And sometimes it's one individual asking for an entire group, and that's really important to us that we get that information to them. So really, as some of the background, we discussed this with you, and you gave permission for us to move ahead with working with JPM Enterprises, which everyone knows as Great Life, at our Ottawa Golf Course to terminate the lease agreement for the operations of the course. And that will be effective December 30th of this year. So we have been working diligently to move ahead with all of the parts and pieces that need to happen to keep the course open and moving ahead and try to provide as much of a seamless transition as we can to our members and our patrons. So what you have in the memo that came out and also the information that we've been sharing, I just wanted to touch on some of it. If you have questions, great. We can talk about it in more detail if you want, and I would encourage people that if they have questions to please reach out and ask. I would much rather they have the information than having to guess. And as we move towards January, it's really important to me that we have everyone up to speed. So really in our November actions, I broke these down by months because December 30th is coming really fast. And so I broke down for you just a few of the things that we are working on and moving ahead with in our transition and communication plan. So in this month, we have drafted a letter in coordination with Great Life that's going to go out to all of our known members and patrons. And we're also in the process of developing a survey that will come out to them at the same time and be available then on our website for anyone who's used the course or has ideas and would like to give comment about what they'd like to see done at the course, things that they might be interested in that aren't currently provided, if there's events, activities, if there's improvements that they have seen that they think are important to bring to our attention that we may not know about. All of those things will give them an opportunity, or they'll get an opportunity in that survey to be able to answer those questions and give us that feedback. I'm hoping that within the next week or week and a half that we'll have all of that coming out and being available to them. We do have some of our members do store carts at the facility, and so we do want to also send separate communication to them. And we've been, as I said, we're working with Great Life, and they have been able to give us the information that we need so that we can contact our members, and I truly appreciate that coordination. We will be sending a separate communication out to them about personal cart storage. We did just conduct our first round of interviews today for a golf course manager, which I'm sure you've seen that was advertised. And we have also published the advertisement for a superintendent for the course as well. We'll get to that hiring process later in December. And then we are currently in the process of a facility and grounds or property review. We've assembled a group of 6 or 7 employees across different expertise areas that have gone out and done an initial review and are meeting again yet this week to put together our heads and notes and photos and things to put together a plan. So we're making sure we're addressing everything that we at least putting together some sort of a plan for our transition.
Director Landis?
Yes.
Real quick. On the interviews, is that the only round of interviews that you're actually receiving applications? Like you're not receiving any more, correct?
We're not receiving more applications at this time. Okay. We received, I believe, 48 applications, and we had ranked and rated those applications and narrowed that down to interviewing of 5, but still did have good applicants beyond those initial 5.
You answered all the questions I was going to ask, and I just had
Great.
Some individuals reach out to me to see, vaguely, how many have we applications had we received? Is there any interest and things like that? But it certainly sounds like there was quite a bit of interest. So.
There was a lot of interest and a great showing, and I think that really speaks to the opportunity that there is for the course and that those people are excited about seeing where it can be taken.
Thank you.
On that same topic, I'm seeing 3 different titles. I see superintendent, manager, and pro.
Okay.
Are those all one and the same? Are they 2 positions or 3, or what? Can you tell us about that?
The one position is a general manager and golf pro. We advertise it that way because that is really the general management of the course, and the golf pro portion of that would be the ability to engage, ensure that there's lessons and events, activities, the league, that type of the side of the business. The superintendent side is typically your ground maintenance side, and the course itself, which is also an incredibly important part of the entire operation. So those are 2 separate positions.
Very good, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So for our December actions, we're planning for the remainder of the personnel hiring that will happen in December and into January. We really wanted to make sure that we had that general manager on site or onboarded first before making those decisions. And so while we've advertised for the superintendent position, and we will soon advertise for some of those other positions, we wanted to make sure that this kind of flowed through the personnel hiring process, really had a flow to it. So we had the proper people in place to be able to help make those decisions for hiring. And then in December, we'll be working on what those course fees look like for 25 and beyond once we have our manager onboarded, and then also what our event schedule will look like. And we have had questions asked. Will we have particular leagues? Will we have particular access to the course? All of those things. Some of those things are going to be decided yet over this next 30 days. So a lot more information to come. Not necessarily all the specifics are known as of today. And then, of course, in January, we'll be opening the course with the oversight of the city. I did put, I believe, in the memo that we would be closed for 2 weeks. I had the question come, well, are you actually going to be closed? Couldn't we just use the course during that time? We haven't made that decision, but I think the important part here is that there has to be an actual physical transition time. And for us, that includes things like technology changeover, just the building content change itself, security, you name it. There's a lot that has to happen as part of the transition. It's not just the lead up to and just open the doors and we happen to show up in front of the counter. And so we do need just a short amount of time to be able to make that physical transition. We hope that everybody understands. During that time, and I might just remind, if you're a current member or have a current membership, that is good until March 31st of 25 under their current paid membership. And I believe under that membership, and I apologize if I'm wrong, but I believe that under that membership, they have access and would have access for these couple of weeks time to the other two managed courses with the current Great Life group. And that would be the DeSoto course and the Gardner course. If we really had excellent weather the first 2 weeks of January and needed to play. I think that that's important to remind everyone that those memberships that are in place, again, are there and available through March 31st. That will give us, they will still have access to the course and be able to play under that current membership. And then we'll do our part to make sure that we're communicating those new fees and new membership structure or daily play structure, whatever that's going to look like going forward. We'll make sure that we're getting that information out to them beyond that. In the letter that'll be coming out, it will give some information about how you can contact us with questions. And so we've established an email address, and that's just golf@ottawaks.gov. If they have questions about what their current membership and or fitness membership looks like for Great Life, they can contact them still at the course through the end of the year. At the same phone number that they've always called to get a hold of that management team. My understanding is that they will continue same membership use of the fitness facility downtown through the end of March as well. And that's the end of a contract year for Great Life with that fitness complex. And beyond that, I don't have any information about how they will manage it beyond that point, at least not yet. And so when we do have that information, we'll help them share that word out as well. And then I just... as far as property maintenance and clubhouse maintenance goes, I mentioned that we're reviewing that right now, and I know that there's probably a lot of ideas out there of what should or could happen with the course in general, and I would just encourage people to let us know through that survey option when it does come out. Of course, they're capable or can email that email address and maybe share that with us if they'd like. But want everyone to know that we're taking a good look at the course itself and that its condition is really important to us. Other than that, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have, we're really excited about the transition, and we've really been working hard behind the scenes, and it might look as though that a lot of people don't know what's really happening, and we just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're really looking forward to that transition in January in our new 2025 season.
And I guess we technically own the property today, is that correct?
Yes.
Councilor?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the city owns the property, but it is still being leased by JPM until December 30th.
Okay, and so as far as insurance goes on the buildings and liability insurance, that'd be January 1 for the city?
That will be switch over to the city on December 30th. That's why we moved that up a day from actual New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, so that we would have a business day there that we could actually do those things.
That's going to be ours. Okay, and I like the idea of mailing out letters to the members to get ideas from them. I'm be anxious to see when you get the responses back, what they're looking at, what they like, and what we need to do differently. So I'm sure you'll get a very rigorous response from a lot of people on that, no doubt. So
We're all looking forward to that as well. I mean, we're really looking for that feedback.
that'd be good.
Will that survey also be available on the website for folks who aren't current Great Life members?
Yes, it will be. I'm sure we'll post it to social media. We understand that there's a lot of just daily play patrons as well, not necessarily just annual membership members currently there. And we really would like the feedback from everyone that's played the course.
Commissioner Crowley, anything else? Commissioner Kaler, anything else? You need some action on this tonight?
I could guarantee you people play golf in January.
Yeah.
They do.
That's what I guarantee you.
They absolutely do.
Mayor, that was my error. There's not a motion.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to check on that. Very good. All right, thanks very much, Melanie. Good
Thank
job
you.
in your
Thank you.
presentation. We'll move on to comments by our city manager.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, want to point out we have 3 new firefighters. We have John Caldwell, James Garrettson, and Ryan Young.
Great.
We also want to take this opportunity to remind folks, if they are using portable heaters, that they never plug multiple heating items into an outlet, so that they would do so by essentially plugging it in directly and not going through an extension cord or a surge protector. And a reminder for folks who may be looking or needing holiday assistance, if someone's aware of anyone, ECAN is accepting applications through November 29th, and so we encourage folks to check that out or to call the 242-7515 number to schedule their appointment. And then just, again, we have crews working on the north side of town. Sorry, now we are working on the south side of town for the catch basins. So if you see folks, we ask you to slow down and change lanes as they work to keep our stormwater catch basins free and clear, which will help minimize and reduce flooding. Some upcoming OMA events to get us into the holiday spirit. We have the Cowboy Christmas on December 1st from 6 to 8:30, and we have the Duke Mason Band, which is a gospel Christmas concert. That'll be on November 17th, so that's just around the corner here, and that'll be doors opening at 3 p.m. for the 4 p.m. concert. And just a reminder of our upcoming meeting schedules and how things are laying. So right now, we're looking to not have a meeting on the 27th. We'll have a fairly heavy meeting on the 20th, but we don't believe the meeting on the 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, will be necessary. And then also, we will not be having a meeting on Christmas Day, December 25th. And here is the tentative agenda for the following week. And of course, this slide excludes the KDOT urban area item, which we'll be putting on there as well. And so we'll have this item, the financial report and our outside agency reports, project overview, and rundown of our active projects. We'll have a presentation of the IEBC that'll be for review and comment. And then we'll have an ordinance regulating right-of-way camping, also for review and comment. And then our employee service awards, which will kick off the meeting. And then we'll have Encode and the massage establishment massage therapy code review as well. And the end code is currently tentative. So that concludes my report. If there are no questions for myself or another member of the team.
Mr. City Manager, could you go back to your new hires, please?
Yes.
So is that in response to your, I believe, the plea last week that you were short some? Or is that hires you already had and you're still looking for some? I'm just trying to
We'll
give
be
you some
looking
more
for
time to
some,
maybe
and I'll
get that plea out there.
I'll let Chief Dillon plead his case here
Okay,
as
good,
well.
good.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, so we had 3 openings that we hired currently. We do have an ongoing process for 2 more. One would be for the 24 still position, and then the approved 25 position. More than likely, we won't hire till after January 1 just because of the timing. So we will have 2 more positions though.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good group of men there. It's great to see.
And we do have applications coming in, I know currently for both firefighter as well as, I think we've had 3 or 4 come in for the superintendent, which is, as Director Landis explained, is focused on the care and maintenance, the agronomy, turf management of the course, the physical course condition, and what we think of as the golf course.
Okay. And Brian, I know you had interviews today. It looks like for the pro. How did those go? And anything you can tell us about that?
Yes, and again, we had 25 that met the criteria for the PGA certifications, and we interviewed today. We're going to have an additional interview with 2 of those candidates,
okay.
And so we'll be following up with them tomorrow to get something scheduled. And what we did is we had a first year plan and a presentation with a question and answer period, followed by a more detailed financial and management leadership dive with myself, Director Landis, and because Michelle, Director Stegman, is out ill, we had our HR assistant filling in her position, and then we also had Jackie Madison, who was present, and she's with PGA and has helped us throughout as far as helping to write the position descriptions, and she was kind of our resident expert on that. Now, once they had completed this 90-minute session, they then went and performed golf lessons for the short game of chipping and putting with 3 of our more astute scratch golfers here at the city, or closer to scratch than me. So we will be receiving their feedback tomorrow morning. We'll meet with them to go over their session, and that will also help us determine the process for this second round.
I'm just encouraged by the number of applicants. I had no idea we get that much interest. I'm glad we have that large of a pool to pull from. So wonderful, good news.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Go on to comments by our commission. Let's go with Commissioner Crowley. You have anything?
No comment.
Commissioner Clayton?
None at this time.
By Commissioner Kaler?
No, thank you. Everybody have a good day.
Okay, and I just have a couple things here. I wanted to say I really appreciate all the people helping to put together the Veterans Day Parade. That was a great parade. It really was, and I'm just glad to see all the participants and all the people involved in putting that together. So thank you all for that. Plus all the flags up and down Main Street. If you haven't done that, you should drive up down Main Street at least once or twice before they take them down, because it's quite a feat to see all those flags, and a real honor to be a part of a community that puts their emphasis on our veterans. So thank you all for that. I also want to mention that Prairie Paws has accepted the job to auction off the mayor's Christmas tree lighting switch, and so I'm glad to see somebody's taken that on. They've seen, if you want to bid on that, just go to their webpage and you'll be able to bid on that right to do that. So that'd be a great thing. I'm glad they chose to do that. Before we leave, we might want to talk about our candidate for the Accessibility Advisory Board. Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, I'll go ahead and move that we go and accept Kelsey onto the board. Is there a second? Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll leave that position open. Other announcements we'll make would be that City Commission meeting will be at 10 a.m. at City Hall on the 20th. And the City Commission meeting for the 27th has been canceled, as well as November 28th through 29th, Thanksgiving holiday. City Hall will be closed. If there's nothing else to come before the City Commission meeting